The cranberry sauce wasn't even cold when my father looked up and said, "You'll have to leave. Your sister's uncomfortable." My daughter clutched my hand, eyes wide, fork frozen halfway to her mouth. My sister? She sat across the room, smirking like she'd just won a game no one else knew they were playing. I blinked.
Once. Twice.
"You're kicking me out?" I asked, voice low, steady. "At a table I paid for? In a house I kept from foreclosure?" Mom cleared her throat. "It's not personal, honey. We just don't want drama. Not today." Not personal. Except it was. It was surgical. Clean, deliberate, practiced. I stood up, pulled my daughter close. "My name is Lauren Avery, and from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Have you ever been erased in a room you built with your own hands? Sat at a table where every plate was filled with your labor, but they still called you uninvited?"
I didn't yell.
Didn't cry. I just looked at my father, the same man whose mortgage I'd been quietly covering since 2018. The same man who called me his rock when his credit cards were maxed. I looked at my mother, wearing the gold necklace I bought her last Christmas, after she said she felt forgotten. And I looked at my sister. Perfect nails, perfect dress, perfect record of never lifting a single hand to help anyone but herself. "All right," I said softly. "I wouldn't want to ruin the family party." My daughter whispered, "Are we in trouble, Mama?" I knelt down, brushed her hair back.
No, baby.
"We're finally free." As I walked out that door, I wasn't leaving empty-handed. I carried receipts. I carried proof. I carried 5 years of bills, rent, and quiet sacrifices, and a plan. Because they forgot something. They forgot who's been holding their world together like invisible glue. And when invisible glue peels away, everything shatters. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I sat at my kitchen table, poured my daughter a glass of warm milk, and pulled out my laptop. Every bill I'd paid over the last 5 years?
Documented.
Every account with my name attached? Logged in. Electric.
Gas.
Phone plans. The car lease my dad swore he'd take over soon. The Amazon Prime account my mom used to send gifts with my money. I didn't delete anything. I didn't rage. I just revoked.
Click.
Electricity. Cancelled.
Click.
Internet. Account closed.
Click.
The auto payment for their property taxes?
Gone. Click.
Insurance. Suspended. Policyholder, Lauren Avery. Within 30 minutes, the house they kicked me out of became a house built on nothing. And in that silence, I made one more call to the credit union. I'd like to remove myself as the guarantor for the vehicle leased under Raymond Avery. "Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure." The rep paused, then said, "Effective immediately, ma'am." When I finally closed my laptop, I looked over at my daughter. She was coloring.
Carefree.
Safe. I kissed the top of her head and whispered, "They don't get to teach you how family works. I will." By morning, the calls began.
Dad.
"Lauren, the power's out. Did you forget to pay it?" I replied with silence.
Mom.
"Sweetheart, I can't access my iCloud. I think the family plan is having issues." I texted back one word, unsubscribed. Then my sister called. I didn't answer, but her voicemail? I saved it. "You're being dramatic. You think anyone cares that you paid a few bills? Grow up, Lauren. This is why no one wants you around." I smiled. Because they were wrong. They did want me around. Just quiet, paying, and invisible. But invisible doesn't mean weak. It means they never saw the storm coming. And baby, the storm had just arrived. By day 3, the group chat was on fire. Dad texted, "We need to talk like adults." Mom added, "You've made your point. Now fix this before it gets worse." Worse? You mean like kicking your daughter and granddaughter into the cold? On a national holiday? Because your golden child decided I didn't deserve a seat? They thought I was bluffing. That I'd come crawling back, like I always did. That I'd beg to be let in. To a house I've been financially carrying since Mom's back surgery. Instead, I went to the bank, closed the joint emergency fund I'd set up for family medical needs. That $17,000 they assumed was theirs to drain?
Moved.
To my daughter's savings account. I walked out of that bank and into a warm bakery, ordered 2 slices of pumpkin pie, topped with whipped cream, and took my daughter to the park. She asked, "Is this our new Thanksgiving?" I looked at her, smiling through the chill,
And said, "No, baby."
"This is our real one, the one they never gave us." That night, the lights went out at their house again. This time, for good. My mom sent an email. "How can you be so cruel?" I replied with the last message I'd ever send her. Cruel? Is asking to be treated like family cruel? Was inviting your granddaughter and then kicking her out kind? I paid for your roof, your warmth, your silence. Now I'm using that same silence to say goodbye. Then I blocked every number, deleted the thread, and booked a weekend getaway for me and my daughter. Ocean view, heated pool, no apologies. The hotel room smelled like clean linen and second chances. We watched cartoons, ate room service, and fell asleep without tension pressing on our chests. I didn't cancel the payments to be spiteful. I did it because I finally understood. They never saw me as family, just funding. And now, they could learn what it felt like to eat dinner without me holding the floor beneath them. 3 days after I vanished from their world, my sister showed up in my office, unannounced, uninvited, unaware that the receptionist had already been warned. If Madison Avery shows up, let her sit. Don't let her in. She waited 40 minutes, then slipped a note through the front desk. "You're being petty. This isn't what Mom would want. Call me." I turned the note over. Blank. Just like every apology she's ever faked. This is the same sister who told me I was too intense for asking for respect. The same one who told my daughter to stop being so needy when she cried over not being allowed to sit at the kids' table. The same sister who smirked when Dad said, "You're not welcome at our party."
But now?
With no heat, no car, and no backup plan, now she wanted reconciliation. So I did what they never expected. I invited her to lunch. Neutral ground, midtown cafe, white walls, cold air, no emotion. She showed up with fake lashes, puffy eyes, and a tremble in her voice she thought I'd mistake for vulnerability. "You made your point," she said, forcing a laugh. "Now be the bigger person, like always." I stir my coffee, looked at her, and said, "You didn't invite me to Thanksgiving. You erased me. You kicked out a child because she reminded you that love isn't something you get to gatekeep." Her lip twitched, but Dad was just trying to keep things calm. I raised a hand. "You don't get to rewrite what happened." She went quiet, then tried one more time. "Look, I know things got ugly, but we're family. Don't you want to move forward?" I leaned in. "I already did. Just not with you." I slid the check across the table. "Already paid. Already done. I hope someday you understand the difference between love and leverage. Until then, consider this my last lunch in your company." She sat frozen, like someone who just realized the bridge behind her had been dismantled one silent payment at a time. And I walked out. No drama. No scene. Just freedom. That was the day I stopped being the family's backup plan and started living like someone who knew the value of every unreturned favor. They thought it would end quietly, that I'd walk away, maybe cry a little, then eventually turn the lights back on. They didn't expect an audit, because when you've been paying your parents' bills for 5 years, you have records, spreadsheets, email receipts, statements signed in your name for their luxuries. Like the $6,200 family vacation to Maui that I wasn't invited to. The $2,000 sofa gifted to my sister. The cell phone line under my name, used to block me. I called Vanessa, my attorney, not to sue them. I didn't want their money. I just wanted truth on paper. Something they couldn't twist in family whispers. So we drafted it. A termination agreement. It listed every payment I'd made, every cost I'd covered, and every item they'd abused. The final page? A notarized affidavit. Effective immediately, Lauren Avery is not financially, emotionally, or legally responsible for Raymond and Clara Avery or their dependents. We sent one to their home, one to their lawyer, One to the family group email they used to complain about me. Silence. Then confusion. Then rage. Mom's voicemail came first. Why are you making this legal? You're turning your back on us. Dad's text followed. You think you're better than us because you make more money? And my sister, of course. This is so embarrassing. You're acting like a stranger. But here's the thing. They made me a stranger. The day they kicked me and my daughter out over family unity. They shredded every thread that ever bound us. So I didn't respond. Instead, I posted a photo. Me and my daughter. Holding mugs on a balcony. Smiling in sweaters that weren't bought with guilt. Caption. Grateful for peace. Grateful for freedom. Grateful for the silence money used to buy. No tags. No shade. But the message was clear. That Thanksgiving they fed themselves with entitlement. Now, they were choking on accountability. Because they thought they owned me. What they didn't know was that I kept every receipt. And now I'd sent them the bill. Winter came early. And with it, a storm they couldn't control. The house I'd been quietly keeping warm, now cold. The furnace repair they'd ignored last spring, never scheduled because I wasn't there to cover it. My phone stayed silent. But I heard from neighbors. They're using space heaters and arguing in the driveway. Your dad was at the hardware store asking about deferred payments. Your mom's been wearing the same coat for days, even indoors. They weren't just uncomfortable. They were unraveling. Not because I hurt them, but because I stopped saving them. My sister's lease renewal fell through. Turns out, the co-signer she lost was me. Her name alone didn't qualify. She posted a selfie that week. Tear-streaked, captioned. Sometimes, the people you trust the most abandon you the fastest. The comments poured in. Stay strong, babe. You deserve better. I can't believe your sister would do that to you. And I didn't respond. Because I wasn't their villain. I was their mirror. And they couldn't stand what they saw. Meanwhile, my daughter was thriving. No more awkward family gatherings where she was ignored. No more watching her mom shrink to make everyone else comfortable. One night, she curled beside me and whispered, "You know what I'm thankful for? That we left the party before it broke us." That hit harder than any legal clause. Because she knew. She felt the way I was treated. Long before she had words for it. I tucked her in. Then walked to my desk and opened the last file. A charitable donation transfer. I redirected the monthly funds I once used to pay their bills to a local women's shelter. The amount? $3,800 per month. Enough to house, feed, and clothe 6 women and their kids. Money that once bought my silence was now buying someone else's second chance. And the legacy I once wasted on people who saw me as an ATM? It had finally found a home. They lost heat. They lost comfort. But what they really lost was the only person who ever gave without keeping score. Until I did. By February, the messages stopped. No calls. No texts. No birthday card for my daughter. Not even the usual guilt-wrapped, hope you're well. Silence. But not peaceful. That sharp, echoing kind that follows when people finally realize. You're never coming back. And I wasn't. They used to say I owed them everything. That if it weren't for the family, I'd have nothing. But the truth is, everything I built in spite of them, not because of them. I paid my way through college, started my business with a $700 check and a cracked laptop, built credit on my own name, then used that credit to keep their lights on. I made their survival look easy, so they confused it for entitlement. But now it was time to sever everything. I filed the papers, not out of pettiness, but peace. I legally changed my last name, not because I was ashamed of who I was, but because I was proud of who I became without them. My daughter asked me what it meant. It means we start fresh, I said. No more carrying names that came with chains. We picked the new name together. She chose Wren, after the bird that sings the loudest when it's free. That day, I updated every account, every document, every signature. Not with bitterness, but with intention. Because letting go isn't always about turning away. Sometimes it's about walking toward the life that's been waiting. They'll see the change eventually. on tax forms, on return mail, on the plaque outside my office, where it now says, Lauren Wren and Associates, Financial Consulting, built on truth. The same name printed on every scholarship application I sponsor now. The same name my daughter writes with pride on every school form. We weren't erased. We were reborn. Without apology. Without guilt. I didn't just leave the table. I built a new one. And everyone sitting at it knows love isn't measured in silence or sacrifice. It's measured in respect. Spring came early. The trees bloomed. The air softened. And with it came one final letter. No return address. Just my old last name scribbled in my father's handwriting. Inside. We miss you. Your mother hasn't been herself. Let's forget Thanksgiving ever happened. You can still help us. You always have. I didn't cry. I didn't even blink. Because after everything, they still thought this was a matter of forgetting. Like my daughter hadn't been humiliated. Like 5 years of invisible labor could be swept away with one half-hearted paragraph. There was no apology. No accountability. Just need. The same need that built their comfort. But never their compassion. So I didn't reply. I didn't forward it. I folded it slowly and dropped it into the shredder. Because that's what you do with expired contracts. You destroy them. I took my daughter out for dinner that night. Just the two of us. No tension. No forced smiles. No pretending we were welcome in places that required our silence. She looked up at me and asked, "Are they ever going to say sorry?" I smiled. They already did. They just used the wrong words. They said, "You're not welcome here." That was the apology. It showed us everything we needed to know. She nodded, and we clinked our glasses of sparkling apple juice. I raised mine and whispered, to never shrinking again. The next morning, I finalized one last change. I removed them from my emergency contact list. Because real emergencies don't need people who created the crisis. And then, I breathed. Really breathed. For the first time in years. The woman they kicked out at Thanksgiving was gone. The one who stood in her place now. Unbought. Unbothered. Unbreakable. They built a house with rules meant to exclude me. So I built a life that no longer includes them. Not out of vengeance, but out of healing. And every single breath I take in this peace-filled silence is another reminder. I was never the broken one. I was just the one who finally walked away.